The purpose of religion, purpose of Sharia is to protect life, religion, lineage, family, intellect, and property for everyone. Not only for Muslims or citizens of the Islamic State, but for all Adamiyin. So this rule is in Arabic al-isma bil-adamiyya. Al-isma bil-adamiyya. And the concept of isma is a very important concept. We can translate it to English as all children of Prophet Adam are entitled to the right of inviolability of life, property, religion, family, mind, and honor merely by virtue of being human. So in my presentation, you can forget everything, but just keep this principle in mind. That would be sufficient, because everything revolves around this al-qaida al-kulliyya or legal maxim. So why Adamiyya covenant? Why should I care about it? Why should I promote it? So the idea is that we need to renew as humanity our covenant with God and also with each other. So this Adamic covenant refers to the primordial pledge where all human beings affirmed God's lordship. So we need to refresh our memory about that. Why? Because it establishes the vertical relationship with Allah that sets the terms of horizontal relations with each other and also with nature. So when you eliminate this vertical relationship with God, our relationship with each other becomes very chaotic. And I will explain this further. So human dignity, rights, and responsibilities arise from this covenant, not from man-made social contracts. This covenant serves as a basis for promoting respect for diversity within and among civilizations. So it has implications at the individual level, communal level, also at the global level. So without renewing our pledge to God, we cannot establish just an ethical relationship among humans. So Adamiyya covenant has the power to reconfigure our relationship with each other. The modern approach to relationships was based on a dyadic ethics, like powerful people subjugating the less powerful ones. A reaction to this was called like postmodern approach. So it wants to make all relationships horizontal without any hierarchy. So both of them are based on dyadic relationship, and they are uniplex, 2D ethics. However, when people renew their covenant with Allah Ta'ala, this relationship turns into a 3D relationship, a multiplex relationship. And we are all connected to God. And because we are all connected to God, the terms of our relationship with each other is also determined, at least at the fundamental level, by God. So this is the relationship of stewardship, between each other and also between human beings and nature. So this is what I call triadic ethics, or multiplex ethics, or 3D ethics. So the covenant with God, is mentioned both in the Quran and also in Bible. So there is a verse in the Quran which makes it clear that Allah Ta'ala made a covenant with all human beings when He created them, and they all accepted that He is the Lord. And so this covenant is a binding covenant, and it's not only about human to God relationship, but also human to human and human to nature relationship. There is another example of the how this Ademiyya was implemented by Muslims in history. An inscription ordered by Sulaiman II on Al Khalil Gate in Jaffa reads, La ilaha illallah Ibrahim Khalilullah. Like the inscriptions on all other gates states La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. But because Christians and Jews, lived in this quarter, out of courtesy to them, the Ottoman Sultan and the Khalifa ordered the inscription La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. Another example, like Sulaiman, Sultan Bayezid II, he sent a navy, the fleet, to save the Jews from Spain and brought them to Istanbul. These are all some interesting manifestations of how the Ademiyya principle was implemented. The Ademiyya principle made Islam an open civilization, open to all human beings, and it was first established by Prophet Muhammad in Medina. So Medina is the kernel of Islam as open civilization, where Muslims, Jews, and polytheists, al-mushrikun, they all lived together. They even made an agreement among themselves to be the citizens. And this model, political, social, legal model, was later maintained by Umayyads and Abbasids. And then in Andalusia, a prime example, I call it open civilization based on Ibrahimiyya, because Ahl Kitab, Muslims, Christians, and Jews lived there together. But there is another very interesting example which clearly demonstrates an explicit implementation of the Ademiyya principle, Islamic rule in India. So where Muslims ruled Buddhists and the Hindus. They are not Ahl Kitab. They don't belong to Abrahamic religion. So this is a very striking example to show how Ademiyya principle was implemented in history, although we forgot it today. And the same way in Iran, Zoroastrians who worship fire, they were also under Islamic rule, and they were also treated nicely, given their human rights. Like idol worshippers in Africa, they were also given the same thing. So these are all some of the examples of how Ademiyya principle was implemented to serve as the foundation of Islam as open civilization. Islam respects all human beings, whether they are Muslims or not Muslims. And this is not a moral principle, it's a legal principle at the same time. If it's violated, there are remedies for it. So this is a very important the difference to take into account. So al-ism bil-adamiyya is a legal principle. It's not preaching. It's not sermon. It's a law. And there are remedies when it's violated. So Prophet Muhammad declared in his khutbat al-wada, inna dima'akum wa ammalakum wa a'radakum. So your blood, your property, and your dignity, your honor, your family, these are untouchable. The same way they are untouchable, in Mecca and also during the time of the pilgrimage. So this is only one of the articulations of this principle for the whole humanity. Prophet Muhammad, he gave many covenants to non-Muslim communities, and later Muslim rulers, they gave covenants to non-Muslim communities. So these covenants, they are now collected and published in a book. So this covenant is in Mount Sinai, is still preserved. So the question is like, what made Islam an open civilization? And the idea is that there is a universal concept of human being, which is the subject of Islamic law. So when I talk about the concept of the Ademiyya and its implementations, I don't make the claim that Muslims, had the current system of human rights before non-Muslims. Muslims had a different system. It's a different system, and it functioned well, and it delivered what it promised. The current system is dysfunctional. It doesn't deliver what it promises. But what Muslims had, it was implemented, throughout history and in a wide geography, and it delivered what it promised. So that's why this is a different system. And I'm not making the claim that, like Muslims had it before the West. These are two different things. So in Islamic law and theology, there are different terms used to express this concept. One of them, الضروريات الشرعية, حقوق الآدميين, اسمة الآدميين, حرمة الآدميين, احترام الآدميين, كرامة الآدميين. There are different nuances among them, but I cannot go into detail because of the limited time. I translate this to English as axiomatic rights. So it's self-evident, and everything else, is grounded on these rights. So these include the right to life, right to faith, right to property, right to family, and right to honor. So ismatul nafs, ismatul din, ismatul mal, ismatul ard. So this is the terminology used there. But there is a disagreement among the Muslim jurists in response to the question, who are the people Muslims are obliged to protect? Whose isma are we responsible to protect? So the Hanafi, Maliki, and Hanbali school, they say we must protect everyone's isma, everyone's hurma, everyone's karama, regardless whether they are our citizens or not. But the Shafi school, they say, no, we are responsible only to protect the isma of our citizens. We cannot protect the inviolability or the rights of people who are outside of our jurisdiction. So a similar parallel disagreement exists today in the modern jurisprudence and law. This is similar to the disagreement between universal human rights or natural rights versus civil rights or constitutional rights. But there's a very fundamental question underlying this disagreement. Who are the subjects of Islamic law? Who are the subjects of Islamic law? Whose rights and duties Islamic law determines? Is it all human beings around the world, or just the citizens of the state? So that's the fundamental disagreement. So let me give you some citations, from classical fiqh literature. So Abu Hanifa said, "Al-isma bil-adamiyya." Al-Midani said, "Al-hur ma'soom binafsihi." Ibn Mazah said, "Al-adami muhtaramun hayyan wa mayyitan." So every human being is honorable, dignified while they are alive and after death as well. So this is something very unique to Islamic law. And Ibn Abidin said, "Al-Adami mukarramun shar'an walau kafiran." So a human being has sanctity even if he's non-Muslim according to Islamic law. So from this perspective, rights are brought by at birth. So you are born with your rights. Rights are not granted by the states. Rights are not contractual, and the subject of law is every human being. Then the Shafi view states that al-isma bil-iman aw bil-aman, so rights are due for citizenry by faith or treaty. So from this perspective, rights are granted by the state and it's contractual. And so this is similar to civil rights or constitutional rights. Um, John Locke, in his writing, mentioned three basic rights. Right to life, health, liberty, and possession. Three fundamental rights. But almost 7 centuries before him, Debussy wrote the following. He said, فالله تعالى لما خلق الإنسان لحمل أمانته أكرمه بالعقل والذمة حتى صار بها أهلا لوجوب الحقوق له وعليه فثبت له حق العصمة والحرية والمالكية. So when Allah Ta'ala created human beings, He gave them three rights. Right to inviolability of life, freedom, and property rights. Three fundamental rights. Very striking similarity, but Debussy died in 1039. And he says that والآدمي لا يخلق إلا وله هذا العهد والذمة فلا يخلق إلا وهو أهل لوجوب حقوق الشرع عليه كما لا يخلق إلا وهو حر مالك لحقوقه. So there is so much explanation, but I have to, be very brief. Another great Muslim jurist, Sarakhsi, who died in 1090, so he wrote that when God created humans to bear His trust, He honored them with intellect and legal personality, zimma, so that they would be eligible for fulfilling God's rights upon them. Then He granted them the right to inviolability, life, freedom, and property. Again, three fundamental rights: right to life, right to freedom, and right to property, so that they survive and be able to fulfill the trust they bear. And this trust, as well as freedom and the right to property, are inherent in a person from the moment of birth. So this is the concept of born rights. So he says these rights, are given to every person at the moment of birth, and the discerning and non-discerning are equal disregard. Likewise, the legal personality which qualifies one for bearing responsibilities is established for a person from the moment of birth, with no distinction between the discerning and the non-discerning. So the Arabic is also there for those who are interested. The concept of Ismatul Adamin, is also related with the idea of Maqasid Sharia, which assumes that the purpose of religion, purpose of Sharia, is to protect life, religion, lineage, family, intellect, and property for everyone. Not only for Muslims or citizens of the Islamic State, but for all Adamiyin. So you need to juxtapose like Ismat al-Adamiyin with the Maqasid Sharia. So they are parallel to each other. And Ottomans, reformed this system. First, they institutionalized it, and then later they reformed it. So in 1847, they abolished slavery, and in 1856, with the royal decree of reforms, they introduced equal human and legal rights in all areas. Right to vote and be elected, right for equal employment in all government positions, right to open confessional schools, right to practice denominational law in private law sphere. And then in 1856, with the decree from the Khalifa Sultan, dhimma status and jizya tax were abolished. So no more jizya, no more zimma status. universal citizenship, and everyone pays the same tax. So this was in 1856. Some people brought this up, and I tell them, don't shoot the dead horse. This issue was solved 2 centuries ago by the highest authority, the Khalifa. And then the constitution was adopted, first parliament, and then several multi-party elections, and the non-Muslims were also elected to the parliament. Once again, we need to make an Adamiyya covenant. Justice among human beings is impossible without restoring the vertical bond with God, which sets the terms of our relationship with each other. And when this covenant is forgotten, social relations collapse into interest and power conflicts. Renewing our primordial covenant re-anchors, regrounds, reshapes ethics, and restores human dignity and makes just relations among people and with nature possible. Without vertical relationship with God, human beings wouldn't give priority to values in case there is a conflict between values and interest. So if your values and interest conflict, why should you give a priority to the values? And this what's exactly happening today. So Adamiyya is the rooted Abrahamic universal humanism. Born rights are to be coupled with born duties. In the current discourse, the emphasis is only on born rights. But the concept of Adamiyya recognizes also born duties. When you make a covenant with God, you have rights, but also you have duties. So I would like to conclude, by stating that the protection of 6 basic rights, these are considered in Islamic jurisprudence the common ground for all religions, from the time of Adam until Prophet Muhammad. It is believed that this is the permanent common ground of all legal systems in history and all over the world. And this is also, this provides the foundation for religious and legal pluralism, and it's also called Maqasid Sharia. According to Islamic theology and jurisprudence, the 6 principles constitute the unchangeable core of all religions and the legal systems in the world. Islamic law has taken Adamiyya, humanity regardless of religion, as the subject of Islamic law, to which rights and duties are accorded. This tradition, originating from Abu Hanifa, has formed the foundation of a universalistic interpretation of Islam until the Ottoman Empire. This understanding is the basis of open law and open civilization. I call Islamic law open law and Islamic civilization open civilization because it's based on the concept of Adamiyya. So today we need open law and open civilization based on our common humanity, the Adamiyya. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe. And visit acton.org/Collins Center to learn more. Did you know that the Collins Center is a charity 100% funded by donations? If you'd like to help keep these videos ad-free and to see more, please also consider donating. Thank you.